Joining us to discuss the Occupy Lekki toll gate protest and the way forward is ACHIKE CHUDE, Deputy National President, the Joint Action Force. Thank you so much, Mr. ACHIKE, for joining us on NEWSDAY today.
It's always a pleasure.
Let me begin by asking you first, what was your response to what we saw play out on Saturday at the toll plaza where police arrested peaceful protesters? And secondly, a youth representative and a member of the panel has stepped down. Another member of the panel, a senior advocate of Nigeria, also says he's considering leaving the panel as a result of the arrest we saw on Saturday. Some fears in some quarters is that the sitting of the panel and its report at the end of the day might be tainted and may lose credibility. Do you share in this fear?
Well, I mean, what happened on Saturday, it was expected in the sense that everybody had been put on alert about what was going to happen. The protesters made it very clear that they were going to protest the decision of the panel to reopen the toll gate to business. Then a group that called itself as a Defend Lagos also had also at the same time insisted that they were going to make life difficult for the protesters. And then in the midst of that was the government, and we saw how the government pulled out all the stops aimed at intimidating the protesters. And that did not go down too well with Nigerians. And we saw what they did. But I think it's kudos to those people who, in spite of the show of force by the federal authorities, also realized that they had inalienable right to protest, inalienable right to have an opinion on what happens in their country. And they showed that they came out also. And then the rest, as they say, is history. Brutalization of the people who were there to exercise their democratic franchise. Of course, as like the event we saw before the shooting at the Lekki toll gate, the protesters conducted themselves in a very lawful manner, and then the security forces really had no business clamping down on them as hard as they did. With regards to those who have left the panel, I think it was always inevitable that would happen. Of course, there's been so much controversy with regards to the actions and activities of the panel from the very beginning. The fact that a major group, a major side that was involved in that Lekki shooting, a side that has also participated in the actions that led to the shooting, and I'm talking about the government side, was the one that set up the panel in the first place. The government obviously would not have set up a panel that will find itself guilty of not maybe having acted the proper way. So, I mean, these are some of the contradictions. And then, like I said, it's inevitable that people were going to resign. The panel had not concluded. The essence of even setting up the panel in the first place was to look into what happened at the toll gate, the shooting and all that. And then before the panel rounded up officially, they had opened the place for business. So I think it was natural that it will not go down well with a lot of people. And so we see the resignations. As for the opinions of Nigerians about the outcome of whatever resolution the panel is going to come up with, I think it is very clear. Nigerians have become very cynical over the years, and they find it very difficult to trust government and government officials when they make certain statements. And you will not blame the people. After 60 years of independence, look at where we are today. Nothing works. And the political elites have been in charge of the country, though the people themselves have also collaborated with them in allowing them get away with murder, with blue murder, with regards to what the country has turned into. So you cannot really blame Nigerians for having this skepticism, for being cynical about the report of the panel. Obviously, the government is the complainant, the prosecutor, and the judge in this particular matter.
Okay, ACHIKE, it's clear which side of the argument you fall on. Nonetheless, let me give you more to consider with regards to what you call contradictions. Some have argued that even the charge being levied against them, the case of COVID-19, going against COVID-19 protocols, seems to be contradicted by the fact that they crammed them into the Black Maria subsequent to their arrest. And also, the argument has also been tendered that the police who showed out in number, over 200 of them, could they not have been used to enforce the peace and make sure that the protest was peaceable? So please go ahead and give us your analysis on that.
I don't know what you want me to say about the people flouting the COVID-19 protocol. The president was the one that talked about that, and prescribed the punishment for Nigerians who violate the COVID-19 protocol. And then they all got into a plane. They were going to the president's home state with so many governors and their aides. And then we have seen how the elites also bury their dead, how they converge, in a particular place, flouting all COVID protocols. We have seen how they were concerned about COVID-19 and then opened up the space at the new registration centers for people to commingle among one another and all that. So, this, as far as I'm concerned, of course, you just talked about even the police activities of the police people who are arresting people for breaking COVID-19 protocols. So who arrests the arresters for also breaking the COVID-19 protocol? So look, the reality is that there's a saying that you always give a dog a bad name in order to hang it. Even going beyond Nigeria, Bobby Wine in Uganda, the same thing when the president wanted to achieve certain political ends, and he made sure that Bobby Wine's people who had gathered, that they said they had broken COVID-19 protocol. So, it's one of those things that happen when the government wants to do certain things. They must always look for a way out.
Yeah, yes. Let me come in here. Well, not all the time, so I can't say all. Let's look at the reason for even wanting to organize the protest in the first instance. The going back to status quo of the LCC by the judicial panel. It was a democratic decision. Was that really cogent enough? 1 minute, if you can handle it. ACHIKE.
I do not argue with the fact that it was a democratic decision. They have taken a decision. They've taken a decision, but then the decision to also protest is also a democratic decision. And the people have a right, even when the Supreme Court it makes a ruling, that is democratic, that is the law, but people also have a right to also express dissension over that, in as much as there's nothing they can do about that. But of course, we all know that whether it's a democratic decision or not, but at that level, the decision of the panel, as far as I see it, is no longer being looked at. Some of the things that go on, they are no longer looked at from the prism of the legalism, but more or less it has become political. Not too long ago, I think under the Obasanjo administration, they had a problem with some of the states, had a problem with the federal government over, is it the littoral states, over those that, were talking about having access to...
ACHIKE, I'm afraid that's the most you can take. Thank you for being on NEWSDAY.